Hi, I'm Mike. I'm here with my friends Dave and Jose. I want to tell you a little bit about this video we're doing. It's actually part of a project that dates back to, back in the 80s, late 80s, where we got together and we'd make these mixtapes. We'd each bring some of our albums and take turns and make these tapes. Dave and Jose had been doing it a lot longer than I did. I was a latecomer. Well, that technology is pretty much obsolete with some exceptions. And we kind of moved on, finished school and went on with our careers and went on to other states. And so 30 some odd years later, here we are. And so with new technology, well, newer technology, we're making these videos. And what we're doing a playlist. Each of us takes turns for about an hour. This one was exactly an hour. And then we have an accompanying video, which we take turns talking about our songs and why we chose them and discussing that sort of thing. So hope you like it. And we'll just go ahead and get started here in a second. I want to tell you a little about myself. I was born in Texas, and except for a couple of brief stints in Oklahoma and Arkansas, lived here my whole life. I live in Austin, actually Pflugerville, which is a North Austin suburb. I went to University of Texas, got a journalism degree between that and Texas State down in San Marcos, and worked for journalists for about 10 years, a reporter for a while, and then an editor. This is at the Waco Tribune Herald, my beloved old paper. Anyway, then I went on to public information, and now went a completely different direction, and I'm an economist for a state agency. So that's me in a nutshell. Jose, you want to talk about yourself a little bit?
Sure. Of course. My name's Jose, and I don't even work, so why should I even talk about that? But no, I was actually born in Puerto Rico, which is kind of weird. But I grew up in San Antonio, and then that's when I first met Dave, and we had an appreciation for. Initially, I'm sure it was about sports. But as we began to grow up together and learn, because we knew each other in middle school, but as we progressed into high school, we of course started getting into music and of that nature. And really, it was Dave that I was kind of into the heavy metal kind of scene and that kind of scene, but it was Dave who really opened my eyes to a lot of new music. I think that's one of the reasons that we started this whole mixtape thing back in, I'm sure it was like 85 or 86 to that nature. And of course, Dave was exposed to my music, and man, it was eye-opening. It was like, turning over a whole new world for me. And, I could never repay him for that. And then, as we grew older and then, like you said, moved on, I moved up to Dallas, and that's where I met Mike and found another compatriot, so to speak, in the music and exploring new music. And that's the thing, I think, is that we are so open-minded about new music. I think I was telling Mike earlier before that it's like for us, it's like Christmas every time we get new music, and these playlists are like, man, we get to open something new, and it's better than any gift you really can get, give or take. If someone gave me $1 million, I think that might be different, but so that's a little about me. I was and then I graduated from college, Texas State, go Bobcats, and then I moved to Ohio. I'm a big Reds fan, so I moved to Ohio. I spent 5 years as a sports editor. I spent 3 years as an editor. I did general news for another 3 years. Then I spent 15 years at public information for a university. And then last 8 years, I was a sports editor again. So obviously I love sports, but I love music as well. I even wrote in a column once, sports is my passion, but music is my soul. And so there you go.
All right, I guess it's my turn. My name is Dave, and as was mentioned, I grew up in San Antonio, Texas as well, and Jose and I became quick friends. Again, based on sports and our love of music. But there was even a period of time when we were in college where I got to become roommates with Jose at my house. I was living at home, and he ended up moving in with me for a little over a year. So we spent a lot of time together, and we shared each other's musics and really opened and explored a lot of different musical backgrounds, and that really opened my eyes to a lot of different types of music. And And my philosophy and theories on music are just that, philosophy and theories. Maybe they don't mean anything to anybody, but for me, a life without music is just sad. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't listen to music or that I don't play music. I play a little bit of piano and I love to sing. And so even if there's nothing else and there's no music anywhere, there's no radio, there's no anything, I always have the song in my heart. I always have the song in my head. That's always playing, and it kind of plays as like a backdrop to my life. I remember where I was and what I was doing when certain songs were released or when things happen that way. So again, that's my passion. I love it. And then when this idea came up, I was all on board. Now, again, we mentioned Jose growing up, and then Jose went to college and met Mike. And then even after that, with friends and associations, I had an opportunity to go to a couple of concerts with Mike and with Jose, and hang out with them either at Southwest Texas or we field trip to Dallas or wherever we were doing. So got to meet Mike there. And then years later, now we didn't really necessarily stay in touch all that well, but now we're back doing this playlist thing. So I'm excited about that opportunity with Mike. As I mentioned, grew up in San Antonio, graduated from University of Texas, San Antonio, go Roadrunners. And then from there, I went to Colorado, and I've been in Colorado now for 34 years, working civil service for first Air Force and Air Force Space Command. And then back in 2019, you may know the United States Space Force was activated and stood up. So I work with the Space Force and love it. I am married and have 9 children, and that keeps me really busy. Luckily, my youngest now is 19, so moved out, and gives me a little bit more opportunity to do have a midlife crisis and do some fun things with my friends, hang out, listen to music, talk about music, and enjoy it. And hopefully everyone else enjoys not only the music, but maybe a little bit of the commentary as well.
No, that's great. I totally agree. Just, piggybacking on that is, I see this, and I've told these guys, we've known each other for, 35 day for almost 40 years, more so day 40 years, but we know each other, but we really don't know each other. And the music that we've accumulated in those last 30 years, 40 years is great to share with you guys, as well as listening to the music you share with me, because even in this latest playlist, man, there were some great songs. I was just like, oh my God, feels so good to have this going on.
Yeah, I should add, I didn't really go into this, but music is central to my life. Beyond family, it's kind of the main thing, and it's so much more accessible with digital now, although I do miss some of the old ways. Almost everything that's out there you can get digitally. So yeah, it's the concerts and music and that sort of thing has always been a big part of my life. So this playlist, we're kind of taking turns choosing topics, and this one was mine, kind of our inaugural playlist, and the topic is female singers and musicians. We've named this Strong Women. Kind of secondary after making the playlist, because women of strength are very much represented in these songs and the musicians themselves. So I'll get right into it. My first song was 6'1" by Liz Phair. This is back from early 90s, and I think it was her first album. She has claimed that it is the album was called Exile in Guyville, and this is the opening track. She has claimed that it's a song for song answer to the Rolling Stones classic, Exile on Main Street. Some have pointed out, well, maybe not exactly, but I can see it. I can see at least some of it. So this song in particular, I'm a big fan of. It's I wanted to start. I have a lot of mellow songs. Not actually ended up not many went onto this playlist, but I want to start out with something strong, and so that's why I picked this one. That's about all I can say about it.
No, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Yeah, when I woke up this morning and I was going to go for my morning walk at about 7:30, this was, I started this playlist, and this was the man, and it got you going. It really does. It's really a great song. There's a lot of energy. She's talking about a lot of different things, how she, 6'1", but 5'2", those kind of things. The lyrics are really pretty clever. The music is fantastic, and it's so upbeat, it has a lot of energy, and it really gets you going. So, I thought, man, what a great choice for this to kind of, sure, we're going to have our mellow songs, there, because of course, women and that kind of thing, not that I'm pigeonholing women in any way, shape, or form, but it's a great way to start this playlist.
I agree. I thought it grabbed me right from the get-go, and with the beat and went right into. At first, it had that classic 4-chord introduction, and I was like, oh, is this going to be just a 4-chord song? And then right after they went into the intro, it changed, and her unique and raw voice and energy just took over on the song, and so I really enjoyed it as well. I thought it was a great start to the playlist, and set the tone for it right off the bat. So that kind of transitioned into my song that I first chose. And sometimes we pick songs and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I'm interested to hear what Jose and Mike think. But the key on this was I wanted to play a Cranberries song, and I got hooked into Cranberries later in life. It was only about 3 or 4 years ago that I actually started listening to any of them, and it was actually when I heard that the lead singer Dolores O'Riordan had passed away. It was in 2018. So what's that, about 5 years ago? And when I said, well, I didn't even really know much about the group or her, and that's when I said, well, let me start listening to some of their music, and specifically her vocals that are on there, and just was blown away at it. So I picked this song, just My Imagination, and it's actually one of the most simplest, calm songs really in their repertoire. They have other ones that are more edgy and upbeat and other things like that, but I chose this one. Sometimes we might have a playlist regret. We put something on and then we think, man, I should have picked a different song by her to maybe showcase her talents a little bit more, a little bit differently. But I'll stick with this one. And again, hope you enjoyed it.
I did, definitely. I was not familiar with it. I did know the Cranberries music. I remember hearing them back in the day, and I was sad to hear she had passed. I like that they keep their accents, and they're rather strong. Well, she's the singer, but it's rather strong, and it really adds something to the music. It is simple, but that's kind of the beauty of it. It's very straightforward, and the lyrics about how their lives used to be when they were younger. I can definitely relate. But anyway, yeah, loved it.
No, I agree, and they have no regrets, Dave. It was a great follow-up to the first song. Again, added that extra energy. I can always count on you for some great, strong lyrics. And they may be simple, but like Mike said, very reflective, and we can all identify with that, man, woman, anything. So no, I thought it was a great follow-up to it, and I thought it kept up the energy, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, because it really, you go from that Liz Phair to the Cranberries, like, oh yeah, let's keep it going, we can go. So I guess that landed on me for my next song, which was oh, go ahead, Dave.
I was gonna say, before you go into the next thing, something I forgot to mention here, that she was only 46 when she passed away, and it was from some type of a drowning due to some alcohol consumption. So that's what's kind of sad too. Gone way too soon, as well. So I forgot to mention that part when in the beginning. But over to you for the next track.
Oh no, yeah, a tired and true rock and roll tragic story, like we've heard so many times in music history, where a lot of singers leave us way too early, and it's always kind of tough when you have to man, they could have given us so much more, and that kind of thing. So Well, enough of being a little depressed. My next thing to try to keep the upbeat going was Luscious Jackson. Luscious Jackson was introduced to me. I was kind of in my early 90s Beastie Boys phase, and I think they were kind of they're out of New York, and the Beastie Boys kind of introduced them to the world. And they've only had like 2 or 3 albums, I believe. And I just love their funkiness, the sound of it. They have some great lyrics. All, you know, this Strong Man, you know, obviously it's called Strong Man. I should have mentioned that, off their first album. And it just, I find it captivating lyrics, and I found the melody and the beats really good. And you know, it's not rap, but it's not, you know, actually singing it. You know, it's a different kind of genre. Obviously, you can hear some of the Beastie Boy influence in there, you know, but not really rapping. And just that whole album, I found, you know, it was tough to pick a song off that album, but I wanted to kind of fit it in with the energy of what was going on here. And of course, the lyrics talking about, you know, strong man, you know, it takes a strong man to be with a strong woman, but, you know, you could tell from their perspective, you know, what, you know, they have a message there.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. It reminded me a little bit, and I know there's always influences and different things that occur, but you know, you had that flute in there, you had the piano, you had the bongos, and it had a little bit of a Traffic vibe to it at some point. But I really liked it. I liked the lyrics. I liked the message. Especially, it takes a strong man to stand by a strong woman. I'm going to remember that line. It takes a strong man to stand by a strong woman. I love that message, and it really inspired me.
Yeah, I could echo the same thing. That particular line really stood out, and I thought, and that's kind of what inspired me to come up with the title of this playlist. But yeah, it was great music. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad it was on the list. I appreciate it, Jose.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you will hear more from those songs, because I think that their whole first album was really, really fantastic, and it is named after Lucius Jackson. Used to play for the Knicks. For all you sports fans out there, just a little heads up. So okay.
Okay, well, the next one was mine. It was Black Crow by Joni Mitchell. For me, most of my knowledge and what I followed from Joni Mitchell were earlier than this record. This one, I don't know, 75, some mid 70s kind of period, and everything before that was often acoustic. Her and maybe another musician or two, but it was kind of real mellow. And there's great songs. I mean, I had to pick from several. I wanted to get her on here, but this one I really like because it does have this whole different vibe to it. And it's a song about being on the road, both literally and figuratively. But at the time she recorded it, it was about she had been doing extensive touring, and that, as you've heard from probably stories of other musicians, that can really take its toll. You know, I guess there's some glamour to it, but there's also changing from this vehicle to that vehicle, not knowing what city you're in, maybe being in hotel room after hotel room. So she sees kind of herself reflected in this crow she sees on these trips. But she was during all the touring she was doing before this was for the Rolling Thunder Review, I believe it was called. Bob Dylan and a bunch of other folks. And she basically had to drop out because her marriage was falling apart. And then she did a lot of other traveling during this time, often wearing a wig and trying to disguise herself, but apparently some people still recognized her. And so that's what all this comes out of. I really love this song. The whole album kind of has this kind of sound to it. And one other thing to really mention really quick. People on this song in particular, there's Larry Carlton, who played guitar virtuoso. Some people may know him as the guy who wrote or at least he played on the Hill Street Blues theme. But he's also well known for the guitar solo in Kid Charlemagne by Steely Dan, which is about half the song. He starts out, kind of leads into it playing, and then it's just the big solo, and then as the lyrics and song peters out, he's still kind of going. The other guy is his name is gonna escape me now. Um, a bass guitar player who had been around for a long time. He played a fretless bass. Actually, I say a long time. He was relatively young when he died. He was beaten up very badly, but he at the time had been uh, doing lots of drugs and that sort of thing. And why I can't remember his name. Give me a moment and I'll come back to it. Go, Jose.
No,
Or whoever's next.
Now, coincidentally enough, I just seen the David Crosby documentary, which is about David Crosby, but of course, heavily influenced by Joni Mitchell. He was heavily influenced. He produced her first album, and I think it was Dave that kind of turned me on to Joni Mitchell. So no, I thought in this song, we all know the hits, we all know the really good songs, but this song did catch me by surprise. Again, another song with a lot of upbeat, a lot of tempo, a lot of great lyrics. And, I thought this was, one of the more fantastic songs. It's, David Crosby kind of said it best. He was probably one of the best songwriters ever. And I got to concur with that. I mean, even this song that I'd never heard in my life really struck a chord with me. No pun intended.
Yeah, I agree. Joni Mitchell is one of those iconic female singers where from the very first note, you absolutely know who that is. I had too, like Mike I probably had 4 or 5 of her albums and knew some of the hits and things like that, but didn't really follow her throughout the entirety of her career, especially the last 10 or 15 years or whatever. But like you were saying, Jose, she's so respected by the music community that they put her up on a pedestal like no other, and they say that she is a virtuoso. She's brilliant. Her knowledge of music theory and chords and progressions, they say, are almost without parallel. That she's that great, and maybe a little bit underappreciated in terms of her status and where she's at. Recently, I saw something where she's up in age and they were trying to get her, Brandy Carlisle, I guess, got her to go to the Newport, was it the Newport Jazz Festival or the Newport Festival of some kind, and actually perform again. And she's now performing live again, which she hadn't done for many years. And she's kind of more older and frail, but the voice is still there. And it's great that we still have her with us to be able to appreciate and all of her music. And again, this one is one that I did not know right off the bat, but I enjoyed it. I liked it. And it probably need to make me go back and look at some of the other works that she's done that I just kind of went unnoticed over the years. But again, she's brilliant.
If I can have one more moment, following up on my deer in headlights moment, Jaco Pastorius, amazing bass player. He was with Weather Report and on many other people's records. He was known for playing a fretless bass, and she really liked his sound and used him on a few songs on this record. And yeah, he died. He was in his 30s, but still very young, and could have contributed so much more. But kind of addiction, one way or another, can get you. So anyway, Jaco Pastorius. Okay.
Well, the next selection was mine, and at this point, we had a great vibe going, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna slow it down. And I knew at some point I wanted to put this song on the playlist. I didn't know where or when the right moment would be, but with Christine McVie's passing recently, this is her signature song. She had so many hit songs for Fleetwood Mac and even some solo stuff, but this was a song where it describes her the best. She is a songbird, and just love the song. It always brings me to a special place when I hear it. I especially like the lyric, and I wish you all the love in the world, but most of all, I wish it from myself, and that encompasses everything. She wants you to be happy, and will give you all the love that you need and deserve. Again, so I just like the song. And when she passed away, I probably hadn't heard the song much in many years. And when she passed away, I think I played this song. I've probably played it 20 or 25 times in the last several months, just to remind me of her greatness and how wonderful she was as an artist.
Well, I love her music. People may not agree with me, but I I really preferred her to Stevie Nicks. She's my favorite. I mean, they both had things to contribute, but she was great. She had been with Fleetwood Mac for so long and wrote so many beautiful songs. But this one really does on their most well-known record, most acclaimed as far as I know. This song really just it adds this beautiful note to an album that includes all kinds of hits, and the beginning of the songs about their squabbling and various relationships. But she kind of and even though her voice is so melodic and at times soft, I think she really was the rock of that band in a lot of ways. So I appreciate you putting this on.
No, I would agree. Full disclosure, my oldest brother Pablo, the first 3 albums that he ever bought were like Boston's first album, and then of course this album. So of course I heard this album, I think, for a full year almost every day. And so you would hear that song, but it wasn't the hit. It wasn't one of the hits on the things, So to hear it again, it kind of brought me back. It was like, oh yeah, this song. You're so used to the, like Mike said, the squabbles on, the big hits and all that they play constantly. So when you hear those songs, you're like, oh, okay, I've heard that. But when you hear this song, then it takes you, it takes you somewhere. And no, I appreciated it. Dave really putting it on. It really brought me back. And now I want to go back. Maybe I should go back and listen to the album again because, like a lot of us, we listen to a lot of music and sometimes we indulge in some of these albums for a while. And then, they kind of dissipate as we, as we get into other music. But, to bring this back, man, really, really, really hit me. So no,
before you go into your next song, and Mike said it and you said it as well, that album Rumors is one of the most iconic albums out there. I mean, obviously it was popular at that time and everything, but if you listen to that album cover to cover, there is not a bad song on that album. And in fact, there's 4 or 5 hit songs on that album, which is a rarity. You might get 2, a couple of songs or something like that, but to have that many that charted the way they did was unheard of at the time in the 70s. And I think it was like the highest or longest running charted album like at that point until some of the other ones that came along and surpassed it. But definitely so.
Right. And yeah, it's a gem on that album that's often overlooked, because of the hits. So good job, Dave. I appreciated that. So my next song was Midnight in Harlem by Tedeschi Trucks Band. I think it's on their first album, Revelator. Well, I got into this because I'm part of the jam band scene. Derek Trucks is what I consider one of the 5 best guitarists I've ever had. He's kind of a prodigy. He grew up in the Allman Brothers family. A lot of people obviously compare him to Duane Allman because of his slide guitar work. He's been playing since he's 9 years old. So he was in the Allman Brothers, and I first saw him. He had his own band, and man, he blew me away, just totally blew me away. And I saw him in a small club with like about 300 people. So then the next thing, he was in the Allman Brothers, but as the Allman Brothers, finally retired, he had married to Susan Tedeschi, who's the singer. And I think by marrying her, he kind of harnessed his energy, because when you saw Derek Trucks play, I mean, that was just full bore, guitar hero type stuff, a lot of great guitar works, a lot of instrumentals. What she brings to him is that softer edge that, and obviously this song kind of reflects that, you see a more melodic, a more thing. And then that album won a Grammy. So it was funny to go from this jam band scenes, and then I went to go see Tedeschi Trucks, and you saw this older crowd, that really got into this. You're like, oh, not that I'm not old, believe me, but you were like, oh man, this isn't the jam band scene. They've hit mainstream at this point, and I'm not saying they're the biggest band, but they've become, across the board, they've become really popular. And so, and this, of course, song was one of those songs that just, it has a message, and it tells a story, and it also accentuates Derek Trucks playing, as well as some of the other members in the band, like Kofi, who's, again, you hate to say this, passed away early as their keyboardist, but no, I just found this song pretty a really great song.
I thought it was good, and I wasn't surprised that you played something like this. You seem to be the soul music kind of grabs you, and we're learning that from you, and I've learned that over the years, is that's your forte. That's where you're at. Like you said, the jam bands. I love the electric piano and the vibe that gives off. Again, I thought it was a great tune, and it flowed the playlist. It got us back into that energy from the previous song. So I really liked it. Again, keep playing more of it. I actually just put a big star by it as well. That I enjoyed it, and more Tedeschi Truck Band for me.
Yeah, for me, it was it's probably, of the songs I didn't know, probably my favorite. I had not heard this band before. I'm a longtime Allman Brothers Band fan, and so when I saw the name before I hit play, I expected a completely different sound. And the great playing on there. I'm trying to remember if this is the one that sounded like it had a Hammond organ on it. Maybe I'm wrong, but there was it's such a good vibe. And that female, the singer's voice, I'm not sure her name, but it was great, and I too am gonna have to check out more of them.
Yeah, Susan Tedeschi. Yeah, she's great. She's a little older than Derek Trucks, and that's why I say he kind of reined him in. She kind of reined him in, and a lot of great songs. You'll definitely hear a lot more, and they like to do a lot of covers, and stuff like that. So I'm sure one time when we do a cover, you'll be blown away by some of the way they've done songs. Of course, since he's compared to Duane Allman a lot, they do a lot of Layla, things like that. So
Yeah. So my next song was Johnny by Sarah Jarosz. The album's called World on the Ground. I was only introduced to this music earlier this summer at a family reunion. My I guess cousin-in-law, Jeff Martin. He's a great guy. Lots of good taste in music, and we were just talking about, I think we were talking about bluegrass and kind of that, along that strain of music. And my understanding is she plays some of that. This is a much different creature. It's mellow, and so I kind of took it back down after Dave's attempt to raise the beat of things. But I love this music. I put on a playlist right when I got back from the reunion, and every single song I heard on there, and everything I've heard so far, she just has a lot of talent. She's from Wimberley, Texas. She was actually born in Austin, but she's from Wimberley, Texas. For those who don't know, it's a town out in the hill country, maybe 30-45 minutes from Austin, and it's kind of gotten a little more touristy as popularity of this area has grown, but it still has a great art community and stuff.
no,
That aside, anyway, just one more thing. David Crosby's last record before he passed was called it was called For Free, which was named after one of the songs on there, which was a old Joni Mitchell song, and he does that song with her, with Sarah Jarosz on that record. So
Wow.
I want to hear it. I haven't heard the whole thing, but I remember that coming up when he passed.
I did listen to that and preview that after he passed. I heard that song or I played it, but now you just put the connection to it that Sarah Jarosz was the one singing on it, and it's a little bit different of a recording from the original, but it's really, really good, especially because of her voice and what she adds to that. So I'm going to go back and listen to it again with a different lens now. I mentioned the previous song. I put a big asterisk. And I really love that song. I put an even bigger one on this one. This was my favorite song, I think, of the whole playlist. I love the style. I love the tune. The harmonies were just awesome. The lyrics, everything on this. And so I'm a big fan already of it. I'm going to start exploring more. But I love the line, "An open heart looks a lot like the wilderness," was one of the lines in there. And again, thanks for turning me on to this, Mike. That's a great gift. Thank you.
Yeah. No, hey, I know where Wimberley's at. I used to cover when you cover San Marcos High. We had to cover Wimberley High
Me
School.
too.
Played where they played football. So anyway, they have a good football program. Or used to have a good football program back in the late 80s. So yeah, and like you said, Mike, it's grown considerably over there in that whole area. But no, this song immediately captures your attention. You know, her voice is like, "Oh, Johnny," you're like, "Oh, what?" And so, man, such a great song too. I did think I saw her on the David Crosby documentary because he was touring his last album, things of that nature, and but yeah, no, just a fabulous song, grabs your attention immediately, insightful, interesting. So no, I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Did I go out of turn on my commentary?
That's
I think I
okay.
did.
Hey,
I'm
there's
so
no
sorry.
terms, there's no
You know
rules.
what? I was so excited about talking about Johnny that
Hey.
I couldn't wait for Jose to do his things. But yeah, again, so after that, I went with the Four Non Blondes tune "What's Up," and again, I'm not like into all the Four Non Blondes songs. I think this might be there's only a couple of songs that I actually know of their music, but this is one that I don't know, every time I hear it, it has such an energy to it that I've played it a lot. I don't know a lot about the band. I don't know their origins or how long they've been playing and all that kind of stuff. I did look up that it was Linda Perry as the lead singer for that band. But again, I don't know what it is about the song, but it's in my playlist all the time. And when it comes up, I like it. So I thought I'd throw it on.
Yeah, it's a song I've heard for years. It got a lot of airplay back in the 90s, and I certainly can. I'm moved by the sentiment behind it, which, if I'm hearing it correctly, is in a world and a culture and a system where it's been so male dominated for so long. It makes somebody want to scream, and try to hope that things will change, for women. And I really agree with that sentiment. Not sure about revolution, but anyway, yeah. But I appreciate you putting this on. Like I said, it was a big hit for a while, and I looked it up, and it was all over the place in Europe. It really struck a nerve with some people. So thank you, Dave.
No, this is, yeah. I like to call these songs. I always like to call these songs the classic hit syndrome. Is where they play the hell out of it. They play the heck out of it. You hear it all the time. In that, when it comes out, and for the next year, you hear this a lot. You see the video back in our day when they used to play videos actually on MTV. And so you heard it all the time. So after a while, you're like, okay, I get it. I understand, I know what's there. And so you're like, oh, okay. But then when I heard it again, when Dave put it, I was like, oh, that's right. This is really a great song, for what it is, I call it the slow ride Foghat syndrome. Man, if you haven't heard that song a billion times on classic radio, but when you don't hear it for a while and then it comes back up, you're like, that's right. This is why this is a great song. This is why they played the heck out of it. And of course, what else can you say about this song that, hasn't been said? It's a great, like Mike said, it's a great message. Everyone feels like this at some point, like, hey, what's going on? That kind of thing. So no, Dave, yeah, bringing that back was really, really a strong message and a strong voice. And I'm up. So Carly Simon. legend in your own time. We all know Carly Simon. It's, it's much like Joni Mitchell. We all know the hits. We all know Carly Simon. We know her voice. We know what we're kind of getting. But this is one of those kind of hidden treasures that I think that's on the anticipation that you don't think about. And it really has, I think, a lot of meaning on a lot of different levels, relationship with your mom, relationship with yourself. How do you feel about things? How she views men, how she thinks men are, you're a legend in your own time when you go home alone, that's kind of the lyric in there. And talking about, listening to on the radio, singing with the singer, just such great lyrics on that. And that's kind of what you expect from Carly Simon, but then the voice just makes it that much better. So that's one of the reasons I put it on.
And for me, I didn't know a lot of the Carly Simon things, mainly just the hit songs and the greatest hits kind of thing. And this was one where at first I thought, well, I don't know this song or whatever. And then I listened to it like 2 or 3 times. And then I realized, wait a minute, no, I have heard this song before. And so, yeah, she's timeless and she has that classic voice. I appreciated it because it brought back, like I said, I had to listen to it a few times and then realize, oh no, I have heard this song before. This is one of her, may not be one of her hit songs, but it's certainly one of the ones that define her.
Yeah, I like Carly Simon a lot. I also didn't think I knew this song, but it seems so familiar. And I think I probably have heard it. I think it comes from a period where a number of her songs had this kind of sound to it. It was the same album that had Anticipation on it. I believe that may be the album's name. But there was that sound, that period that she sounded like that. And it's a good song. It's kind of a sad song, she's really empathizing. Maybe a little undertone of criticism of this person, but also she's really, feeling for this person. And I'm curious if it's based on people always speculate who's You're So Vain about. I'm kind of curious if this is an actual person or just kind of a character she created. So I'm up next. I did In Liverpool by Suzanne Vega off of 99.9 Fahrenheit. I had heard her music, like the song Luca and Marlene on the Wall and a few others, but Left of Center, I guess, is one. But I hadn't really developed an appreciation for it. In the mid 90s, I was I was cooking in a restaurant called Mother's Cafe, which is sadly no longer around. And I was exposed to a lot of music by a lot of different people there. And a fellow cook there, Spencer Franklin, and I both kind of discovered this one at the same time. The whole album is really good, but this song in particular, I used to hear it on the radio here on I guess a station that's no longer around, but they kind of played more to my taste at the time. This song, among other things, it features David Hidalgo, who was guitarist, one of the guitarists, singer, and writer for Los Lobos. And I did not realize that till I was doing a little research about this. I've listened to this for years, but I just love the sound of it. It's it kind of starts that mellow and then builds up, but it always kind of has this, it's a sad undertone. She's either lost a love or she's separated from them by distance or time or something. And of course, Liverpool, with the Beatles and everything, I always kind of had an interest in that city. So thanks.
No, Suzanne Vega. I don't know if it was Mike or if it was Dave, but I know someone had a Suzanne Vega thing. I think it was Dave because, of course, he's usually attracted to this kind of stuff. But it could have been Mike, where that's the first time I think I heard Suzanne Vega. And then, of course, but never really delved into it. And then when you hear this song, it kind of flows in with this whole playlist. Of some introspection. Some some memories of loss, some memories of what might have been, what had been, what you deal with after that. And so, yeah, like you said, everyone knows Luca. That was played, a lot, and you can't deny that she has a great voice. So, but to hear this song, man, really, it was really striking in both the lyrics and the music.
I agree. This is why we do this, because you get exposed to songs like this. And I may have been the one you were referring to, Jose. I had Suzanne Vega's first two albums,
That's
and
what I
and singer-songwriter, folky, all of those kind of things that she had. We mentioned some of the songs already: "Solitude Standing," "Tom's Diner," "Undertow," to name some of the other ones that are on there. But again, it was those first two albums, and it was just a lot of good songs on those first two albums. And then what did I do? I don't know, but why didn't I ever listen to her again? So the one you're mentioning, Mike, is probably I think it was her third album or her third record. And after that, I don't know what she did. But I did look at, she has 9 studio albums over the years. And so she continued. And if those first two were any indication of how great she could be and the type of music she was producing all the time, I need to go check out the other 7, starting with 99. It was a 99.5 or whatever
99.9.
99.9. So I need to start with that one and work my way through to her current collections, or all the way through. Because I'm a big Suzanne Vega fan. I just didn't know. I thought maybe she disappeared after those first couple of albums.
Yeah, just real quick, if I can interject. I have some of those. I've heard the music off all of them, but there's a couple after that. I mean, her strengths as a singer-songwriter have continued. There's another one called 9 Objects of Desire that you'll definitely hear some songs as we continue. So yeah, check it out. She's still awesome.
Still, now as I'm talking, I still have songs popping in my head. Like "Small Blue Thing" was one of the ones that I really liked way back in her first couple of albums. And so, yeah. And then the one about the Queen and the Pawn or something, and the Queen and the Soldier or something. She's good. So along the lines, it was interesting that you put that song on. It was in Liverpool, and it had that kind of a European vibe to it. And so I said, all right, well, there's another singer-songwriter that is in that same vein that I've always enjoyed, and that's Nanci Griffith. And if you want to get back to the Texas roots, she said that she grew up she was born in Seguin, but she was raised in Austin, Texas. And that's where I learned of her. And not so much in the local scenes in Austin, Texas, but just watching it, her on PBS, Austin City Limits. So that was my first exposure to her. I'm like, wow, who is this cool, folky singer-songwriter that's going? And that's when I went out and bought one of her albums and started listening to her. Was back in that mid 80s, 1985 timeframe. Again, I didn't keep up with her. She has a lot of famous songs that other people have done or have covered or whatever. "Outbound Plane" is one of them. She'd read it like from a distance as well, even though I don't think she wrote it. But there were some other songs like that. I wasn't following her life and her career as of late, but when I looked it up the other day, they said that I guess she had died in 2021. So just a couple of years ago, she passed away at the age of 68. In living in Nashville, Tennessee. But great singer-songwriter.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. First about her, I heard her music a lot. Again, working at Mother's Cafe, she was particularly loved there. I never really, I have to admit, I didn't get into her as much as I should have, and I regret that now. I never got to see her live, although I know she played in Austin a lot. And I know a lot of people were heartbroken when she passed. A very great talent. And this song in particular, I enjoy. I like the whole, she starts out kind of in this Irish brogue kind of, singing like she's from there. and then she kind of, without skipping a beat, she's suddenly this American woman who doesn't drive on the left side of the road, and it's a great story, and I love the message. What are we leaving for our kids? What are we setting them up for? Back in the Troubles in Ireland, I'm sure generations were born into that, and probably had many of them short lives because that terrible time, and which has hopefully come to an end. But same here in the United States. I think she mentioned Chicago, but it could be anywhere else. It's like, what are we setting up our kids, these children, soon to be adults, to be, and to what kind of life to have? So I appreciate it.
I guess I should have mentioned before Jose's comments that the name of the song, I keep forgetting sometimes to mention the name. It's A Hard Life Wherever You Go. And you hit on some of those points, Mike. So I appreciate that. But yeah, that's, I guess I need to get the title of the song out there.
Well, here's a funny story about this song. About right before I left from Ohio, my friend Tom Henderson, who I hope one day will join us because he has musical taste like us, he comes to me and he says, "Hey, have you ever heard this song?" And it was by Emmylou Harris, and she sang it at the Ryman or the old Opry House. And he said, "Hey, have you heard this song?" Because he likes the lyrics about, the father talked about there's, he sees the black people and they're trash, and she says, "No, the only trash is you," so to speak. And I was like, and so when Dave started playing this song, I didn't really remember the name, but when that particular lyric came up, I was like, shit, heck, I've heard this song before. And it was funny that I just heard it right before I left Ohio, 3 weeks before. So I immediately called Tom and said, "Hey, guess what?" And of course, this is such a, such an impactful song. And he was struck by, Emmylou Harris singing it in Nashville and talking about racism and prejudice. So yeah, such a great and powerful song. And it was so funny to hear that, hey, other people, and for her to sing it, with the accent and stuff like that, brought a whole different perspective for me. Yeah, if you hear it from a country singer, you think one way. You hear it from her, you think of other prejudices that are out there as well. So no, fantastic choice. And I really enjoyed the song. And I need to delve into her more, I've only heard the Emily and never really gotten into her. Obviously, I've heard the name. I knew she was from Texas, but other than that, once I heard this song, I'm like, okay, this is really great. So of course, and then of course I threw my curveball in there because first of all, the song I picked, 1977, it's a Trey Anastasia band, and I love my fish and I love my Trey. Well, this song, I was once listening to one of his live albums, and all of a sudden this song came on, and he has a horn section, and it's two women, Jennifer Hartswick and Natalie Cressman. And all of a sudden this song came on, and I'm like, what the heck is this? Where did this? And of course, obviously being Hispanic and stuff, it really struck a chord with me. But in addition to that, it also has the horns, it has the music, and I just love the fanciful lyrics, the rap, I don't think you really have to understand the lyrics to particularly enjoy the song. It's just a fun, loving song. And of course, it just blew me. So every time I look out for her, every time I want to go see Tab, I hope they play that song. He actually played it in San Antonio, and Robert got to hear it live, and he was blown away, my brother Robert. And so I was like, man, I feel cheated that I didn't get to hear it live, but I just think it's a fantastic song. It's bouncy, it kind of veers away from some of the things. She's not their lead singer, but she actually plays the trombone. She plays the trombone, and Hartswick plays the trumpet. We hear that trumpet come in. So just thought I'd throw in there for a little fun and a little, hey, this is kind of different. Maybe y'all will enjoy this or not enjoy this, but I thought it was a great song.
I was surprised. I liked it a lot, and it was, keeping with the international theme. When you put that on, we had the Liverpool, then the Dublin, Ireland, and then this song was just. I guess didn't have words to describe it. I listened to it a few times, and you're right. It doesn't matter what language they're speaking in, because they're speaking in the language of music, and you get it. It doesn't matter if you know what the lyrics say, because the music is conveying the message in this case. It was nice that you put the translation on there though, and as you went and looked, I went and looked at the translation. It was interesting that that's what she was singing about in some cases. So again, I thought it was. Did you say it was the language was Portuguese or was
Well, I
it?
think it's from South America, so I think, like all people tend to not know this, but they have all
Chilean
different
and
dialects. It's like like in southern Spain or like in Argentina, they all have their different versions of words and stuff like that. So I think it's a mixture of the Spanish type dialect of. She's originally from Chile, so. I think it's a mixture of that. So because I understand a lot of the words, and then some of the words I don't understand. So I initially thought, oh, is this Portuguese? But then when I looked it up, I was like, oh no, she just has a different dialect and uses different words for different things. So, but no, fascinating song.
well, thanks for putting it on.
Yep, same here. This is another one like the Tedeschi trucks that I expect something from my limited knowledge of Fish and Trey Anastasio. Expected something quite different. Again, the little gap between when I heard the song was going to be and then put it on the playlist and listened to it, and it was not what I expected. And I really liked it. I do like that trumpet. It's a strong, feel like it's the Spanish roots of this song. And then the rap, yes, I understood very few of the words. 1977, she'd say repeatedly, and I think I heard the word guitar in there and some other things, but I need to work on my Spanish. Yeah, it was awesome. I am not one who has listened to any variety of rap or that sort of thing. And I've been trying to get more into it, listening to my 15-year-old son's stuff. This is not like, Drake or what have you, but it is a nice little segue into that style of at least doing the words, the rhythm of the words. And I really appreciate it. And thank you. And it's me. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Jose.
No, I just wanted to add on that, when you work at a university for 15 years, you do get exposed to a lot of new music and a lot of rap and stuff. And again, we're older guys and yeah, it's not our thing, but you learn to appreciate certain hip hop songs for its cleverness, its lyrics and stuff like that. We can't always generalize it. Yes, there's a lot of music out there that I would never listen to, but at the same time, there's a lot of music that, hey, even though they're young and it's not our forte, you always got to give it a shot. And I think that kind of leads into yours, Mike.
Yeah. So this one, it's okay. So Taylor Swift. You wouldn't know me and think that I would be much into Taylor Swift. I have actually heard my daughter and wife particularly play some of her songs, and I do feel like she's a great songwriter. She has talent, and I'm not opposed to that music, but it's a different style than this. And I saw this movie where the Crawdads sing, and it was a really good. It's a murder mystery and this drama about this girl who grows up basically in a swamp when she loses her parents. And then what becomes of her later in life. And I won't say anymore because you see the movie. But it's at the end of the movie, I don't recall if it was anywhere sprinkled in the movie, little bits of it, but it definitely played over the closing credits. And I was listening to him like, oh my goodness, what is this? Is this Alison Krauss or, it's this more, I don't know if it's really bluegrass, but it's just this seems like an older tradition than your modern pop hit. And then it gets to Taylor Swift in the credits. I'm like, no, really? And so then I was sold. So I as soon as I got home, I put it on the music app, and so I've been willing to listen to more of her music, and I'm still working on it. I know she did one of her more successful albums. I think she redid in a kind of more folky way And so I'm interested in hearing that. And somebody also told me she started out actually in country music. So I'd like to check that out too. I'm not completely opposed to country music. But anyway, that's where that came from. And again, Taylor Swift, Mike Anderson, you never think that that was going to be mentioned in the same breath.
No, when I first heard Taylor Swift, immediately your mind goes, okay, what are we in for here? And of course, I'm sure I'm not going to become a Swiftie anytime soon or spend thousands of dollars for a ticket, but I can appreciate the music and you can really appreciate it. Another thing, going back to when I worked at the university, I used to play my music in my little office and torture my students with my music all the time. But on occasion, I would say, you can bring in music. I'll let you play music for an hour. They usually work 2 to 3 hours. It's like you can play your music for an hour. And then one day, one of my interns brought in a Taylor Swift album. She's like, "Can I play this?" And I was like, "Okay." I said you could listen to something, thinking I was gonna be the one that tortured. But then, like I said, you keep an open mind about it. You're like, oh, there's some talent here. You can hear the talent here. Again, I don't have any of her albums. I don't, I'm not deeply into it, but then maybe that's my fault. I have to look at it because there is talent there. And there's a reason why she has #1 hits and, #1 albums. And this song, may not be what she does. Like Mike said, I know she started out in country and she used to have that knock that she didn't write her own songs and that kind of thing. But this song really was well done and it really brings you into a different kind of mood.
Well, my daughters did turn me on to a little bit of Taylor Swift over the years, mainly just the hits and the popular songs. But I know probably 4 or 5 of her songs because of that. The Love Story and was it Blank Check or something like that? Something about that. I don't even know if that's the name of it, but something like that. But a few of the songs. But I too saw that movie that you mentioned, Mike, where the Crawdads sing, and I love the movie. If you haven't seen it, Jose will, or anybody else, I would highly recommend it. It's a great movie. It kept my attention going all the way through. Like I said, it's got a good storyline to it, and I think the ending was again set in that Carolina swamp area, and so this song just played right into that. And I didn't know that Taylor Swift had sang in that movie at all, which would probably make it even better now if I go back and watch it again. But it just shows you, how great and how great her talent really is. And, she can be popular, but she can also do something like this. I did a little research on this just because when I pulled it up, I wanted to see, oh yeah, it was from the movie and the soundtrack or whatever. And one interesting factoid jumped out at me that I thought was amazing is that she recorded this song using only instruments that were from 1953 or earlier. So she wanted to capture the sound because the movie is set in that period in the late 40s, early 50s time frame. And so she wanted to capture that essence of that sound with the instruments as well. And I thought that was really interesting that she did that or chose to do that and not use any modern day instruments, but only pretty much guitar or something that was from that period of time.
No.
All right. Is up next, and again, I don't know why. I just had a bunch of songs in my head and artists, and at this point, this was going to be our last song or last artist. I do have some playlist regrets because I probably had 10 or 12 other artists that I wanted to play, and I don't know why I picked this one because the Chicks, as they're called now, aren't necessarily one of my top favorite female vocalists, but I something about this song. I know it was played to death and I'm very popular, but I chose "Goodbye Earl." I just liked how strong the women were in the song, and that they weren't putting up with crap. And so we all know people like Earl, and they tend to get away with a lot of stuff. And with this being, even with the hashtag and the with Me Too and the domestic violence. I just love the lyrics and the play on the lyrics, and just said, yeah, Earl's got to die, and we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna get the ladies together and we're gonna go take care of it. No one ever was the wiser for it. No one ever came looking for Earl, and I just love the beauty of that. Now, with the Carolina theme, though, I was thinking of it, and as even at that time when you put that song on, I'll just tell you there were two other songs that probably would have gone in with the genre really well. I'll just go ahead and say it. Maybe we'll use it for another playlist another time. But I was thinking of "Blue Bayou" by Linda Ronstadt, and I was thinking about playing that song, which would have gone great with the Carolina theme. And the other one was "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia." Yeah, it was the other one I was thinking of. So again, maybe for another time, but we'll catch that on the next go round.
Yeah, goodbye, Earl. Earl had to die. It's hard to disagree with that sentiment. I'm not a violent person, but dang, Earl, he's yeah. The song, it definitely you take something that is as horrible as spousal abuse or domestic violence, particularly to the level, this put the person in the hospital, but add this Black humor to it, and about strength and rising above. Again, I don't condone murder, but Earl had to die. And the one thing about this is another one that played on the radio a lot back in the day. And I remember one of the things that struck me, the song, it's I guess upbeat in its way, the musical sound and everything, but it suddenly rises really loud, and when she says Earl, that Earl, or however she says it. And I remember many times during the days when that was on the radio, just hearing that part somewhere in the distance. So yeah, anyway, I do like the Chicks, and I think that'd be a good one to have on here some more. So thank you.
No, like Mike said, and I know this song was played quite a bit. I heard this song quite a bit. I must be the only one watching videos or something, because I remember this being, and also with the controversy, because of course it's a very controversial song, and it was back in the day, even before they hit the other controversy, because this kind of springboarded them into superstardom. And the song, but it also had its tinge of controversy, like vigilantism. Does this give you the right to do it? I think most of us probably agree. Yeah, Earl does have to die, because of course spousal abuse is just horrific. And so I remember this song, and I hope we get to hear more of the Chick songs. I know there's a lot of great music. I'll go back to my friend Tom Henderson. He had several Chicks albums or Dixie Chicks albums, and he would play them for me. I was like, yeah, these guys got really good group, and I think sometimes people, not to be critical of Goodbye Earl, but I think that's not their best, so to speak. It's their hit, but as we all know, sometimes your hit's not your best, and we all know that. But it's always nice to hear. It's like I said with the Four Non Blonde song. You don't hear it for a while, then you hear it, and you're like, that's right, this is really a good song. It has a message, whether you believe it in or not, but it makes you talk about it, and it reminds you, that yeah, this stuff is out there, and someone stood up and decided they were going to sing about it, and talk about this, because it did happen, especially even more so back, like Dave said, even nowadays, we're more aware, we're more attuned to it. But even back then, this was kind of an eye opener for a lot of people. And I think that's why it was so controversial, because let's face it, men kind of ruled the world back then. And why you can't just kill us because we teach. Yeah, I think we could. We really, I think, obviously a lot of women who were abused identified with that. So no, it was great to hear the song again. As much as I'd heard it in the past, it's always nice to reconnect with a song like this. So, and then of course, I just couldn't get this, couldn't end this list without having Aretha Franklin on it. I don't know why. You could pick 1,000 Aretha Franklin songs. Obviously, we could have picked the hits and stuff. Don't play that song. It's just kind of having a little fun. Obviously, it's not about kind of a joke on don't play that song. a little bit on Goodbye Earl. Don't play that song, as far as it kind of being a little controversial. But I thought always this song is a little heart wrenching because we all can identify with the song that we identify with that isn't the greatest memories, or isn't the greatest music, or is about heartbreak, or is about that thing. You're like, shit, that's right, I remember this song. Sorry, I keep cursing. I should not curse. but but it leads to, it brings back to what we talk about on these whole playlists. There are certain songs that bring you back to certain moments, and this kind of song identifies with. And of course, Aretha Franklin is singing it, and let's face it, she's probably my favorite female vocalist, and so that's one of the reasons. And plus, it fit 3 minutes, so it made us perfectly 60 minutes long.
I think it was a great ending to the tape for our playlist. I was not familiar with the song at all, but again, right away, it's Aretha, and listened to it a few times and listened to the lyrics, and that it was kind of that being ignored by a boy when she was 17, just walked by and didn't. So she's like, well, then don't play that song, then forget you, I think it really closed the playlist so well with the theme of strong women, and there's not much stronger than Aretha for all the things that she broke through, and when was the first to do, and all of that. I did look at who I always like to look at who wrote the song, and even on this playlist, the majority, or the more of the majority, was singer songwriters. In other words, who the person that was singing wrote the song, which was kind of neat. Now there were some exceptions to that. This one was one of those. Aretha didn't write the song, but it was written by a person named Ahmet Ertegun. You know that name?
Of course,
Yeah, of course, yeah. So same in that time frame with. I don't know his background or the origin of that, but I knew the name, and I'm like, okay, this, like with Carole King and with a lot of those others at that time. But so he must have wrote this specifically for her, is what I'm guessing. Maybe not. Maybe he wrote it for somebody else, but she may have covered it. I'm not sure the origin of that, but I'd like to find out a little bit more about that, whether it was written for her or whether she just covered it. But great song, great way to end the playlist.
I agree completely. I've been a long time fan of Aretha Franklin. I think one of the first CDs I got, maybe within the first 5, was a greatest hits, double CD. That song was definitely on there, and then of course all the other ones you would expect, plus some more that I'd never heard. I mean, talk about an immense talent. I mean, she was, we lost her a few years ago too, but she did go through a lot, during the civil rights era and all the problems that came before that. She was coming up in that, and if I'm correct, a lot of her songs were by other people, but she made them her own. Another example, which I did not realize for years, the song Respect was actually an Otis Redding song first. And I've heard his version, and it's great. He talked about somebody who didn't have much time and just did some amazing music. But she really made, like I said earlier, made that her own. It's like now when I hear it, I'll always think Aretha Franklin. So yeah, not much more I can add about that. It was a great place to end it, and I'm glad somebody got her on there. And I bet we'll hear more.
No, I think that I could not, put make a list without putting her on there. I mean, we all expressed our views on how great she is. So that was one of the reasons that I chose it. And it just happened to fit in there, and it was on my list, which leads me to, well, our next, our final segment here about, I think we are all, everyone kind of liked the Johnny song, but what was your favorite on this, Dave?
I think that was it. The song Johnny was my favorite, followed closely by Midnight in Harlem. Those two, and then having them back to back, those were the two gems of this playlist for me.
Mike?
I I can't really vote for Johnny because I put it on there.
Okay.
And you know, while it's new to me and I like it, honestly, there was some great stuff that was put on here by others, particularly the Midnight in Harlem. I like the 1977. It's a shorter song. It seems shorter,
Yeah.
but it's just very strong, and it's just such a good groove. Both of those, I'm going to be listening to again, and forcing my son and the rest of my family to listen to on car rides. I mean, I'm sure they'll love it. So yeah, those kind of were my favorites.
I'll convert you all to jam bands at one point. No, what I really liked was, I love the Johnny song, but I love the Liz Phair song right at the beginning. I think that's just a song that just hits you right from the beginning. I love the lyrics. I love that kind of singing. And so I really like that. The Joni Mitchell song was fantastic. It's hard to really pick, which leads me to my next question is, we left a lot of women off this list. Once we started going through it, there was a lot of women that are left off this. Did you realize, like, oh, like for me, there's some like obviously the Pretenders, Chrissy Hines, Tracy Chapman, which was big on me. I heard she's making a big comeback, but there was just people on there. Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane, so I'm sure that we'll have a volume 2. But Dave, were some of those leftovers? I know you mentioned a couple.
You mentioned some already that I had thought, but we've made mention a little bit to her. But Carole King is I think one of the ones that jumps out at me right away. That we'll need to put her on a playlist here somewhere for sure. There's so many great female artists out there. That's why I said we need to do another. Maybe 2 or 3 more of these. You didn't mention Janis Joplin. I know you're big on her, and
Right.
Things like the Carpenters, even though it was both the Carpenters there, but it was Karen Carpenter's voice really that carried that. I love that as well. And then some of the old ones from the '60s, like Joan Baez and Janis Ian and those type of artists as well.
Ellen Reddy's out there. There's a
Anne
lot of great.
Murray.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many that we can still put on. And initially, when Mike came up with the idea, I was hesitant. I was like, "Well, do I really know female singers?" Then you realize, "Oh, I've got an abundance." Mike, what are your thoughts?
Well, since you mentioned Helen Reddy, I would be remiss to leave off Olivia Newton-John. She's not my favorite. Was not my favorite. Boy, there's so many that we've lost. But she had a couple of songs that, especially from my younger years, that really resonated with me. But I had you mentioned several of them: Carole King, Joan Baez, Amy Mann. If you're familiar with her, she started out until Tuesday, and then has kind of just blossomed on her own. She's been around a while now, so she's long been doing this great music, including some soundtracks. Alison Krauss. She started at a young age and fit into this bluegrass band really well, and then kind of has gone on her own on some records, and very good stuff.
And
Patty
toured with
Griffin.
Robert Plant, right?
Yeah, oh
And toured
yeah,
with
yeah.
Robert
Well,
Plant.
yeah, there was an Austin. She lived in Austin for a while, and I actually have a story about that, which I'll keep very brief. A guy I used to work with at the paper was walking down his street one day, his neighborhood, and here comes this older guy walking a little dog, and it was Robert Plant. He was, I guess, in town. He was off of Congress Avenue, so there's a lot of stuff there, but he was walking this old dog, I guess, while they were still in a relationship, he and Allison. So yeah, there's more. There's many more I can't think of right now, but the second I get, Bjork. Okay, you guys just get ready. One of these days I'm going to put some Bjork on, and maybe I'll make a fan out of you yet. So.
How about some of the rockers like Hart and Pat Benatar?
That's right. Yeah, it's amazing how many. Yeah, that was Hart was definitely on my list as well. Patty Smythe. No one's mentioned her, but she's fantastic. And even Stevie Nicks, which is on the things, but you chose to. But she has a lot of tremendous songs, whether you like them or not. So now, I'm sure if we continue this, which I'm sure we will, we'll have any final words from you guys.
Just briefly, I'm having a blast. I'm looking forward to the next one. We'll see if we can keep up pace of one a week or so. Folks out there don't know, but we did a trial run a week ago. And so this is our first official one. And I'd like to add something real quick. When we post this, we'll have the song list. It'll be on YouTube, and we'll have the song list in the whatever the comments below, the notes, whatever. So you can check it out on Apple Music if you would like.
I just want to say, I again appreciate we're doing this, and it's a lot of fun for me, and I hope others enjoy it as well. And let's keep it up. Let's keep going.
I agree. Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's keep going. I love it. So I guess that's it. So see you guys later.